I'm the school head of Mechanical, Industrial, Manufacturing Engineering. I started out at OSU in this position in 2003. It started as department head of Mechanical Engineering, and then College of Engineering has been merging departments into schools. And so you can think of a school as something that runs several different degree programs. And so we merged with Mechanical and Industrial officially this last year, but it's a process that's been going on for a couple years. And so I'm the head of that unit. I was born in Maryland, around the DC area, and I got my bachelor's degree at University of Maryland and my master's at University of Maryland, Baltimore County, which is a branch campus, and my PhD at Clemson in South Carolina. My undergraduate is in math, my master's is in applied math, and my PhD is in math sciences. And those distinguishing features may not be obvious to somebody. I got increasingly more applied toward engineering as I went on, which is one reason why I'm in my current job in the College of Engineering. I had a lot of teachers who influenced me. My parents influenced me a lot. I can remember one particular teacher I had in 4th grade who did a lot with math, and that was fun. And then I had several biology teachers in junior high school who had motivated me to be really interested in school. When I was at University of Maryland, I was in the honors program, and two people who had a big influence on me were the two directors of the honors program. And Maryland had about 45,000 students, and it wasn't a very nurturing or fun place to be. So I turned to those folks for a lot of perspective and motivation. I also had a woman who mentored me for a senior honors thesis, and she was a huge help and a huge motivator for what I did when I went on to graduate school. If I were going to look and see what's been the common thread in the various things I've done, it's been to have a positive impact on the people around me. Now how that people around me gets defined is largely contextual. Like before I was here, I was a program manager for the Air Force Office of Scientific Research. And in that job, I was funding research all over the country and even some internationally. So there was a pretty broad definition. In my current position, my mission is really to have a positive impact for the people of OSU. I'm really passionate about people. It goes with the impact thing. I'm passionate about working with people I care about. I'm passionate about being around people I care about and making a difference. I spend a lot of personal and professional energy on trying to improve things around here. In terms of my personal life, I enjoy going out and doing things. I scuba dive and I ski, and I like to take photos, and I love living in the Pacific Northwest. I enjoy reading almost everything, and I've always got some book going, and sometimes more than one. I just finished the book Water for Elephants, and that was really great. And I'm in the middle of a book on the history of Iran and how the U.S. played into some conflicts that are going on right now, but back in the early 1900s. So my reading tastes vary greatly. So I'm working on some research now that's funded by the Air Force, and it's part of a multidisciplinary project that involves MIT and Brown and University of Maryland. So it's kind of a funny coincidence that I've been there as an undergraduate. We're trying to figure out how bats fly. And the other parts of the group are either aerodynamicists or biologists or people who write computer code. And I'm trying to work on the control system. That's my research area that links my applied math with engineering. And so we're trying to figure out how bats take the information that they gain from their echolocation, from the hairs on their wings, and take that sensed information and then use it to decide how to fly, both how to flap, and also they've got some interesting muscles in their wings that can change the camber. So that's a 5-year project, and hopefully we make some interesting breakthroughs in that. I've got several grad students working with me. Well, I'm sorry to say that my job sector probably is not too much different than if women had never entered the field because there's so few of us in it. College of Engineering at OSU is kind of remarkable because we've got 5 school heads, 2 heads of the largest schools are women, and 1's Hispanic. And you could compare that with a school like Virginia Tech that's got 13 departments in College of Engineering, and they're all headed by white males. So The thing that, so you might say, okay, well, from my experience, how does having women in this role change things? And I think we bring a different perspective because we look at things with a different eye. And so I'll give you an example. Men tend to think about engineers as taking things apart. And I was with a group of women engineers, and we asked the question, when did you last take something apart? And none of us take things apart. We all create and design, and so it's a flip side of the coin that I think brings a perspective that's slightly different than what's in the field. I would actually like to see what would happen if we had a parity of 50-50. I actually have been fortunate not to face discrimination based on gender. In fact, I would say that being a woman in my field has generally been a positive. There's opportunities I've had because people were looking for opening up avenues for women, and I happened to be in the right place at the right time. And so, like I said, I know women more senior than I who've had horrible stories to talk about, that it's really been hard. But I've been very fortunate not to run into any of that. First of all, it was a long time before I had a professional colleague who was a woman. And so I was used to operating with men around and no women. And then when I have had women around, I've found that they're really in a group, just another one of the colleagues. We're just all treated as colleagues. Now, the one thing I have found is that my relationships with women are way different than my relationships with men, which I didn't know to expect that. With a male colleague, I would rarely call them up just to have a conversation. There's got to be a point. Whereas my female colleagues, I'll call up just to find out how the weekend went. And so I guess I haven't seen anything different with the relationship of one group. We're all kind of integrated. I didn't fall into the typical trap of being in middle school and hating math and changing my viewpoint towards science. And I think it's for a few reasons. One is I had a couple of really terrific teachers in middle school that made math very exciting, made science very exciting. Secondly, my best friends were in the same class I was in, so it wasn't the peer pressure of finding my friends were dropping out, and so it was either find new friends or do something different. So that was nice. It was a peer support group. And then my father was really encouraging. He had the attitude that girls can do everything boys can do. And so when I can think of conversations at the dinner table where if I ever strayed into saying something that was leaning toward this is too hard or that kind of thing, he would nip it in the bud. Well, that's just silly, that kind of thing. So it was several features of the environment that kept me going and not falling into those traps that girls often do. If I came across women in high school who were interested in pursuing a degree in engineering, I would try and encourage them to think about what it looks like in the long run. And the reason why I say that is a lot of what engineers do is around helping people and improving their life. And it's hard to see that when you come in and have to take some of the courses like statics and dynamics in the early years where it's just physics and math, and you're wondering, how does this relate to designing cool things for people? And so that's one piece of advice I'd give them. And then the second one would be to make sure they get into study groups. And it doesn't have to be study groups of women, it could be study groups of men. But I think from my experience late in life of having female colleagues, I think I would encourage them to seek out other women in their major so that they have that support group. Because it's a really hard field, and if you don't have people to fall back on and help with homework and that kind of thing, it can be kind of a bleak existence. I do think of myself as a role model. I try to be, at least. I try to think about ways to develop myself as a leader and to look at ways to help my faculty and staff and the students. And I think one thing that I'm probably not a very good role model for is I don't have any children. So when graduate students in particular think about getting a PhD and going on to academics, a question they often have is, how do I juggle family and job? And I think having children brings in a dimension that is really tricky and very rewarding, but I don't have much that I can help out with there. But I don't think one needs just one role model to handle everything.